Want to achieve network marketing success? Then you're in the right company. Hello, and welcome to Leave Nothing to Chance, hosted by networking marketing giant John Solleder. Learn everything you need to know about the network marketing space from somebody who's actually done it. Join us every week for front row seats as we feature some of the finest and most successful personalities in network marketing. Leave nothing to chance. Join us now.
Well, my privilege to welcome a new friend of the Leaving Nothing to Chance podcast, Mr. Fred Elias. And Fred, I think you're living around Nashville now, correct?
Yeah, actually, I live in a town called Franklin, Tennessee, and it's 20 minutes south of downtown Nashville. And if you've never been there, it's an incredible place. We live in what we call a bubble. It's amazing.
Nice country out there, that's for sure. And your story, I know it a little bit, but share your story. You've been in the industry a long time.
Yeah, so my first introduction to network marketing, I was actually 26 years old. And so the guy, I just got to say this maybe as a golden nugget, wanted nothing to do with it. The guy met me at a gym late one night. I was training, and he came in with they had a system in a box. And he started talking to me, and I said, not really interested. And, at the time I owned a health food store. So I had $50,000 worth of wholesale products there. And, he started sharing more about it. He started talking about the opportunity. And I said exactly this. I said, I'm not interested. And he said this to me because I'd never been in networking, and I had an image, right, about the industry, about networking, whatever. But I think a lot of people do. Right, whether they think it's a pyramid scheme or whatever. And he says, "Can I get your phone, or can I give you some information and get your phone number?" And this was back in 1990. And I said, "Sure, no problem." I never thought he would call me again. So 1991 was this was actually 91 is my first experience in the industry. And the guy, of course, I didn't have caller ID back then. We had no caller ID. The guy called me 20 to 30 times in 4 days. And was putting people on the phone with me so I could hear stories. And a lot of the times I'm like, I don't have time to talk. And 4 days later, believe it or not, it's where I met one of the greatest mentors of my life. Can I say his name?
Sure.
Dan McCormick. And it was the night before Easter at midnight. This guy's calling me, and McCormick's on the phone. And so I listened to him, and I heard McCormick. I just like his posture, his energy. And the guy was trying to recruit me, I didn't really care for his thought, or I wasn't jiving with him, if that makes sense. And it was a few days later, he drove an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. He was 30 minutes from my health food store in Bloomington, Illinois. And he calls me. I answer the phone. He says, "Hey, it's Randy." He goes, "Can I come see you? I'm in Morton, Illinois." And I got at that point, I'm like, well, you might as well come. You obviously drove 2 hours. And so he came down, spent through 2 or 3 hours with me, and I signed up and ordered the product that day. And he said to me, and I'm going to throw this out there, I don't know if this is compliant or whatever, but he says, "I'll show you how to make $10,000 a month." And I'm like, blew my brain. So I said, I'm going to give it a shot. Love the product. And I said, I want to do it. And that's how it started. But if he would not have called me and followed up with me, I would never have done it. So a golden nugget there, right? So I started 91 as that April of 91, grew a business, did well. And so that was my first company, and I was there 12 years. I ended up selling my organization. Just things weren't jiving great. I don't know if you want to know that information. And then I was out of the industry for years. And then I got back involved in December of 2010. January of 10. My second company. And I've done amazing. Changed my life, John. Changed my life.
You've done very, very well, my friend. Needless to say. And
yes.
You're an inspiration to all guys named Fred, including my son, who's named Fred.
You told me that. That's right.
My middle name's Fred. My father was Fred. But let's talk about this, Fred. Why MLM now? And let me kind of position this for you. Okay, we've been through the whole COVID craziness, and hopefully that's behind behind all of us now, right? And now things are kind of back to quote unquote normal, whatever that means, right? But people need to make money. The economy is what it is. We don't, no foreseeable changes coming in the future, right? Whether we change administrations or not in America, certainly not going to turn overnight. Whether that does or doesn't happen, right? We have no control over. So why should somebody look at MLM right now versus maybe looking at it in the past and not getting involved?
Many reasons, John. Let me just say this to you. Okay. Here's my feeling. It's like this, it's like anything else. Okay. Like if you don't take care of your health, right, and be proactive, and that could be a different for different people, whether it be exercising, eating better, nutritional supplementation, drinking more water, getting off soda, whatever. Like your doctor's not going to do it for you. Okay. That's the bottom line fact. If you don't decide that I want to be healthy, feel amazing, look better, feel good about me, I'm responsible for that. It's no different with your financial life. And why network marketing today? Bigger and better reasons today than ever. Because the bottom, and we're not taught it. Bottom line, we are taught what? Go to school, get a job. That's the facts. And it's different than what it used to be. Used to get, you get a job and you might be somewhere 30 or 40 years. That is not happening anymore. Everything's changed. Dynamics have changed. But the bottom line is with inflation, and this is a message for any of the listeners that are taking a look or whatever, okay, is your income, has it grown that much from 2021 to where you can live the same lifestyle? But because gas and groceries alone are ridiculous and everything else, travel, okay, so people are behind constant right now because their income hasn't grown accordingly. And so people are struggling. We talked about people living off of credit cards, like it's in trillions in deficits. So what's going to change? And this is what I'm going to say, our industry, okay, because most people can't, if they want to make more money, they got to trade more time for money. They got to work overtime. They got maybe they're doing some extra things like Uber driving, but they're still trading time for money. Are they getting ahead? Not necessarily, but so this industry of network marketing is something where you can get involved in a business. And I say this, John, I got to make my point. It is not a job. It's a part-time business opportunity that can create a full-time fortune or create whatever it is that you want it to be in your life. So for a lot of people, they can get involved for a couple $100, $500, get in business, utilize a service or a product based off what their interest is, and have success personally, and then start sharing it and growing it. And that's what this industry is about. And it's about, I always say, average people can earn above average income. And for a guy like me, I'm very average. I got to say this, John. I grew up very poor. I'm not educated, don't even have a high school degree. Okay. What was I going to do? I got out of high school and I was roofing and siding and pursued my bodybuilding career. I was making $3.50 an hour in 1983, working 70 hours a week. That didn't bring me a lot of money. Okay. So this industry changed the course of my life. And you talk about why network marketing, because you can earn residual passive income, because you can grow exponentially and you grow yourself to have a vision. Like people have to start dreaming. This is a dream business with the right people, right company, right vehicle, but it's a dream business. That's what it creates. It creates a different life for people, and they can go build it without having to go get another job to try to make more money. That's what the people need to understand our industry. And you impact, it is a business about making a difference and impacting people. And I don't care how much money you've made or I've made. If we are not making a difference in people's lives, what does it really matter? We are impacting people and we're seeing life change for people. That's why they should be looking at our industry.
Great answer. So let's stay on that. Let me take that question a little bit deeper. So let me give you a hypothetical. So let's go back pre-COVID. Let's 2019. You've got a neighbor down the street from you there in Franklin, Tennessee, father and son. And they notice every day, hey, Fred seems to be, able to go hit golf balls at 10 o'clock in the morning. Fred seems to be home at 2 o'clock on Thursday afternoon. What the heck does Fred do? And all of a sudden they hear, oh, he's one of those things, those multi-level things. And oh, okay, let's stay away from Fred. And then we have what happened with the COVID situation, the economy turning as negative as it has. So you got now, let's say, a 25-year-old boy or man. Okay, 25-year-old guys live at home, mom and dad, because of the economy being what it is. So had his education, maybe went to a good school, got good grades, did all the necessary stuff, right? Good kid. And his dad's about 60. So his dad's on the other end of the spectrum. His dad's looking at, before COVID, hey, I got a few years left to work. I'm going to hit some golf balls more or catch some more fish or play with the grandkids or volunteer at the local hospital or whatever, right? Looking forward to that. And all of a sudden he's been economically impacted too. So they're at different life ends. And they say, you know what? Let's go knock on Fred's door. And they do that this afternoon. And they say, hey, Fred, you got an hour to just kind of tell us, how do you have this lifestyle? Like we're looking at your freedom to do what you want to do. And we're looking at us, punching a time clock somewhere or having to be somewhere at a specific time every day. And we're just kind of wondering how this works. So they come in, they sit in your living room there, and you say, okay, 25-year-old, here's why this industry's for you. 60-year-old, here's why this industry's for you. What would be your advice to those gentlemen?
Oh, I'm going to answer that. You had me chuckling when you said that because it's funny. I don't know what it is, but everybody in my neighborhood, and there's 26 homes in our subdivision, and we live around it's beautiful. So, like right up the street, Luke Bryan, the country star, lives right up the street, and used to be a guy that played for the Cubs, was my neighbor, but he ended up buying more property and moved out. And but one of my neighbors says, this is what I hear: he is not in network marketing; he's in the mafia. And then somebody else says, I think he's dealing drugs. And like, what are you guys talking about? Because I'm home every day, all day. I get to do what I want every day. I have the freedom. So what would I say to the 25-year-old, say the 60-year-old, as far as, my business is, number one, for the 25-year-old could change his life forever. And he can create, whatever he wants to create. He can create wealth. And I paint pictures and I get to know people, you know what I mean? And I find out where they're at in their life. And I talk about what they can have, and I share stories. And so it's really no different, honestly, between a 25-year-old, 60-year-old, it doesn't matter. I guess my answer is, it doesn't matter how old you are, how young or how old you are. In our industry, you can build a business and create with what you want. In a lot of cases, a 6-year-old, it's going to be hard for him to get it. If a person has not invested right, done the right things with their money, and that's why you're seeing people under 70 still working. And of course, everything's so expensive, but for that person, they can still create, earn and create big income. So I don't know if that's the answer. I wouldn't say anything different than the 25-year-old. I do the 6-year-old. It's just like I tell my people, people call me and go, I've got an attorney or I got a doctor that's interested in the products and the business. What do I say to them? I said, don't say anything different to them that you do anybody else. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. I treat everybody the same. So I don't know if I answered that correctly.
Well, there's no correct answer. It's a great answer. You treat them both. But in either case, how do you create urgency for the 60-year-old who might be looking at his 401k or whatever retirement vehicle he has, Social Security, being, questionable whether Social Security will be here in 5 years, looking at that big picture, and he's saying, hey, when I'm 70, maybe I can't live in my house anymore. How do you create that urgency? So he's still working. He's still got money coming in. He's still paying his bills. He's still, hopefully staying even. Okay. Which I think a lot of people are lucky if they're staying even, but let's assume he is for a minute. And he says, hey, Fred, you know what? I really, my body's given out. Okay. I've been an electrician for 30 years. I can't do this type of work much longer. My body's not going to let me. I got to build an income or replace my income within the next 2 to 3 years. How do you create that urgency for them? For the older person, then we'll come back to the younger. But let's talk about the older guy.
Well, for the older guy, and that's what I say to people. I mean, you can condense, honestly, 3 to 5 years, if you do it right, worth of income that it would take you 30 to 40 years working a regular job. And that's the facts. So I always say, well, in order for you to retire, how much money? I'll say, how much money would you need to keep your same lifestyle? And they tell me, and then I show them. I said, then here's what you got to do. We have an average earning per rank in our company that we have to do every year because of the FTC. And I said, okay, then if you want an extra $3,000 or $5,000 a month to supplement so you can retire, here's where you need to be. And I'm going to show you how to get there. And I'm being biased, and I'm just this direct person. Okay. If somebody is coachable and they go to work, I say it all the time. And, I'll just say this. I have had people that need to make an extra $1,500 a month for different reasons. And then now I say in 90 days, I'll show you how to get there. I said, you be coachable and you go to work and I will show you how to hit that. And I've done it with so many people. So I would show him and I'd show him, here's our average rank income. This is where you need to be. Let's go to work. And with the young guy, I mean, again, I just say it doesn't matter age wise, as long as they're following the process and they're consistent and they can see a bigger picture in their life. That is really the bottom line. For the 25-year-old, it's about creating what they want. I mean, a lot of younger people want to drive a nicer car. They want to drive a Porsche or Mercedes or, whatever. And, we talk about that or, so then I just go that's how I do. I go that direction. But to me, I think one of the biggest things is we must inspire more people. We must give people vision to see a bigger life. And I just want to say this, and I always tell my distributors, so this is what people see when you first get them going. This. And our job is to get them to see this, this, this. And it's all about exposure, consistent exposure to maybe it's coming to an event. Maybe it's a three-way calling, the video chats now to hear other people's stories and how it's changed their life. It might be a training on Zoom. It might be a training in somebody's home, but you got to be constantly exposing them, because if you don't do that, then you're leaving them out on an island. And how can you get them to see a bigger picture? Some people are very self-motivated, but most people probably, I would say, are not. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. And you know what? Just side note to everybody, listen to what Fred says here. Okay. We won't say Fred's income, but I have a rough idea what it is from our prior conversation. Okay. Fred knows what the heck he's talking about. And you just said something there, and I'm doing this 41 years, by the way. I never thought of that. That is a great thing. People, please note what Fred just said there. He uses that FTC report that every company associated with the Direct Selling Association, every legitimate network marketing company has, not your Bitcoin scams, but legitimate companies that sell real products, real services in our industry. We have to comply with the Federal Trade Commission. That being the case, every one of our companies goes through every year by rank, the average income and the average amount of people that are making that income. Fred just gave you a real clue there. Somebody says, I need to make $1,500 a month, which, Fred, I think you'd agree with this. That's about what's been sucked out of the economy with inflation, right? In terms of buying power, about $1,500 more you got to come up with for gas.
100%. 100%.
Right. So you look at that $1,500. That's about what the average American used to use. And Fred, when you and I started in the industry, that was like $200. Now it's $1,500, right? Which is a bigger number, but it's a tenable number. And if you look at the company that you're in and you say, hey, we have 800 people making $1,500 a month, that's probably part-time. So when you sit with a prospect and he or she says, we need to make $1,500 a month, well, if 800 can do it, you can do it. Now let's show you how, right? So let's swing back for a minute. Technology, right? I mean, like myself, right? We got a few gray hairs, right? We're not probably as up on it as we should be, but how are you using it? What's your favorite technology? How has Zoom changed your life? Let's say, for example.
Well, okay. I just got to say this to you. I'm very weak at technology. All right. And this may sound really crazy to you. I've built a great organization. I've made a lot of money. I mean, millions. I'll just throw it out there. I don't know how compliant we're supposed to be here, but okay. Okay, that's cool. And I've never sponsored anybody up until last year on social media ever. And it's always me. I know a lot of people. I know what I got to do to build a business every day. I got to show up. It's like working out, you know as well as I, if you want to build a body, you got to show up to the gym every day. You got to do the repetitions. You got to train hard. You got to do some other right things. So showing up every day. But so technologies, I'm terrible at it, but I do use some things. So Zoom is a great way to be communicating for training. We even do Zoom opportunity presentations. And so we do those. Do some Messenger. We do a lot of, we do chats inside Messenger so we can connect people. Obviously, people are posting, people are going live. I think, you would know this guy is one of the greatest in the industry ever, but he's very visible on lives and social media. And so I'm not the greatest at some of that. The technology is difficult for me. But I guess if you Zooming, some messenger chat, but most of the time I'm using my voice rather than texting or whatever, or copy and pasting, and that I guess is about the extent of my skills. So I don't have a lot to say about that. But people are building massively via technology, via social media. But I always say to my people, it's like when you put something out, it's like casting a net and you're grabbing fish. But again, I go back and say, you got to be connecting with them, talking to them, building a relationship with them. Absolutely. And then, it's like this. It's hard to connect with people just by texting, by messaging. People need to hear your passion. People buy your feelings. So I'm pretty short on that question as far as answers go.
Well, and that is an answer, because that's about where I'm at. It's like, the basic stuff, right? I mean, Zoom, of course, probably saved us in the respect that we could communicate during COVID. Right?
100%.
And now, of course, it's great because you could be here in the US and you could be talking to somebody on another continent, and you're looking at them versus, all the other stuff.
Yes. And that there is that connection with like, with actual FaceTiming or video chats, messenger videos. Now you can, so it's better because then you can see them and they can hear you. And obviously, it's about your posture, your energy, your passion. So that way is amazing. And you talk about, well, we can be connect. I got, we're in the Philippines and some other countries. So I can be at my home in Nashville and be talking to them in the Philippines. So it's really so that technology is powerful. It really is.
Exactly. But I agree with you. There's still nothing like being able to sit down with somebody over a living room table, dining room table, cup of coffee at Starbucks, and just fresh in the flesh and really getting to know them. But, that's not as practical as it used to be because
it isn't
everything. But yeah, it still works.
Here's an example I wanted to say to you. So I've got this new group in Tennessee, Hendersonville, which is 40 minutes, whatever from me. And they're building the business. Super sharp gal and some other, we have new distributors, from her. And we're working together for 5-6 weeks. And then I finally met her 3 new distributors. We call them partners, and we're connecting and we met, we did a training, and then 4 days later, we did a party. Like we call it, it's like a home party. We sample our products and then I do a presentation. But I'm just saying this to you. They feel comfortable I feel comfortable with them and they feel comfortable with me. And now our business is going faster because I know I can tell them they can trust me. I'm trusting them and I can tell them more I can call them and say, Dustin, boom, 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 whatever, because we've met in person and we now have developed a relationship rather than just on a telephone call or texting.
Exactly. And it's just that much more real too when you can meet them. There's been people I've met at conventions that I've talked to on Zoom for 3 years, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, you're short or you're tall, or it's like, wow, because you don't put it together on the Zoom, and all that. So it's great. So let me ask you another question, Fred, because you've been really, really good at building a big vision with people. I mean, your success is because you've built so many people that share your amazing vision. How do you do that?
Well, I think what's important is, asking questions, find out what they want, what their needs are. But I share by building vision. It's about sharing stories, become a storyteller. And I will tell people, and this is just my personality, everybody's different. Not everybody's going to be me. And I'm not, some people are super great at technology and can build that way. And that's not me. So, but I tell people what their lives are going to become. And I talk about freedom and I talk about not having to stress. John, I can relate to them. the way I grew up, and I struggled a lot in my adult life financially about how it was going to change their life and how they will be able to pay their bills and not be stressed out, and how they'll be able to do more for their children and not tell them no all the time, and how they'll be able to take more trips and travel and be able to, make a difference in other people's lives. I talk to people about that once I get to know them, but I paint the picture and I sell the dream constantly about a better life. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of that's by sharing the stories. People got to hear other stories. They need to meet other people. But I let them know, if you do this, you're coachable and you go to work. And this is another thing I talk about. Got to grow this. McCormick always said to me, you work harder on yourself than you do your business every single day. And when you can speak with the confidence, see, if I didn't have the confidence and I couldn't speak with it, but it's what I've gone through, then I would let, my upline speak with that confidence to my people, you see. But I share what their life can be like. And I tell people this. I said, I will change your life forever if you follow my lead. But I let them, I just common sense things. I let them know that if you want this, you want a better life, you don't want to struggle with bills, you want to do more with your children, you want to send your kids to college, you want to take more vacations, you want to have more time freedom. That's what's going to happen here. And then I ask them, how would you like to be able to take more trips with your kids or whatever? Would you like that? How would you like to be able to pay your bills the first of the month and not stress about it, not try to juggle it all the time? And I say, I was there. I know what it was like. So they can relate to me too. So they're like, well, I'd love that. So that's how I paint the picture and I sell the dream. And as you get them to the next level, you do the same thing. I want to say this too. I am constantly recruiting my top leaders, constantly. You see, that's important too. I got some great people that helped me get to where I'm at, but I am constantly recruiting those people still today, 12 years later.
You're still building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm still painting the picture and selling the dream to my top leaders that have made a lot of money.
Yeah. Those are the people that sometimes that are the hardest to re-recruit, right?
Because after a while they think they know everything.
Exactly. That's a perfect segue let me run my commercial for a second here, because my wife doesn't make me sleep outside tonight. It's getting hot here in Texas. So here's a couple of books that may be able to help. I don't hold these up wrong. This one's called, with this backdrop, it's tough. But anyway, this one's Moving Up. Okay, called Moving Up. And Dan McCormick, you mentioned Dan McCormick. Dan McCormick's one of my cameos in here because Dan's such a great teacher. There's about 25 or 30 of them in there. And then this one's called Moving Up, kind of like our show. Oh, I'm holding up the Spanish version. I got an English version here. Anyway, Leave Nothing to Chance is what this one's called, like our show. And for some reason, they're not showing up great on the screen. But anyway, in those books are people like we talk about, some of the top leaders in the industry that I interviewed. And they say the same thing you just said. I got to re-recruit my people. Not that you're re-recruiting them into your business, but you're rededicating them once they think that they know it all. Well, my check is this, Fred. My check is this, John. Right. What's wrong with adding a zero on the right side? Right. What's wrong with doubling it? What's wrong with increasing it? Because what I remind them of, Fred, I love your thoughts on this, because you built such a massive group and you're such a great leader in your company and in the industry. But sometimes we forget that our main job is not us. Our main job is to build the team, because those people are where we may have been at some point in our lives, where they're starting out. They've got the young family that they want to send the kids to a good school. They're living in a crummy neighborhood and they want to get to a better zip code for the safety of their family. All the other good reasons to do, like Jim Rohn used to say, all the reasons to do well, right? They got all of those reasons. So how do you do that? How do you get psychologically into their wheelhouse? Okay, where you really get them to understand, well, wait a minute, I made a commitment to help other people. And even though I got mine's coming in, I got the nice house, I got the nice car, I got the nice whatever, that their job is to continue to impact and grow. How do you get them? What are you doing?
Well, I think what's important, and sometimes I've had to learn over the years, just my personality. One, I'm a hard worker. Two, I'm passionate. I have some strengths, right? I love people. I'm passionate as can be, and I'm a hard worker, right? And I want to make a difference. I'm a difference maker. That I take pride. And so, it's like in our industry, this is our business model is beautiful because we can grow exponentially, manpower, building, growing exponentially, and we can build residual. And our residual can be amazing. I mean, talking about making more money in a month than most people make in a year, right? Period. And create time freedom. A lot of people, it used to frustrate me because I have people making some serious money but I have to understand it's our industry, it's our residual passive. They worked and a lot of people don't want to work anymore. I used to get frustrated with some of my top leaders and I'd say, but I had to learn not to. But my deal is this, I tell all my people, we have to pay it forward to people because where I was or where you were, I mean, I was working construction before this company. It was my own business, but man, it's a grind every day. It was a grind on my body every day. But I tell them we have to pay it forward because your life is different today than where it was 5 years ago or 2 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. And don't you think there's people out there that are where you were? So to me, it's being intentional with making a difference. John, do I want to make more money? Yes. Right? Do I want to completely secure my life future? Yes. I've done pretty well. I'm not going into that. But really, again, it goes back to this. It doesn't matter how much money I make. What matters is how many people I'm going to impact.
Love it.
And that's about being intentional with your heart. That is the fact.
That's great answer. And you've had it happen to you numerous times. Love your reaction to this. So you're at a convention, one of your big annual conventions. Somebody comes up to you and they're on your 17th line. You don't know them from Adam. You don't even know their name. But they come up and they say, Fred, I was on this Zoom call, or I was at this meeting, or I read this that you wrote, or I whatever. And it made a difference. And here I am. I'm at the convention. I'm doing well. I've paid off this bill, paid off that bill. Maybe was able to move to that better neighborhood. Whatever it is. How's that make you feel?
Makes you feel amazing. I've been with this company 14 years. We're 14 years and a few months old. I love it. And I get excited. But again, that's me. And it's my personality. When people call me, I just had a call earlier today. And a guy called me and he's down 14 pounds in 8 days. And I'm like, you're kidding me. That's awesome. Right. And it fires me up like I'm brand spanking new again. Right. And so what I got to say is that happens all the time at events and I love it. And I'm just the kind of guy that I will help anybody. I will work with anybody. I don't care if they're on my 17th level. Right. But that's just my personality. And what is interesting. So yeah, it fires me up. I love it. I love to hear the story. I love to hear how something's impacted people, And I will tell you this, and I don't understand it because again, the way I grew up, I am no different today than I was where I grew up. Okay. I'll tell you where I grew up. You may know, I don't know if I told you this. You remember Richard Pryor?
Yeah, sure.
You ever heard his stuff?
Yeah.
I grew up 6 blocks from Richard Pryor.
Okay.
Which wasn't a great area.
Yeah.
All right. But a lot of times at events, I'll have one of the corporate guys come up to me and go, or, say, hey, do you mind taking a picture with this couple or this lady or these people? Because they didn't want to come up and talk to you. I go, yeah, of course. And then I think, why wouldn't they? And I think, who am I? That's just my personality, though. Does that make sense?
Yep.
But yeah, to answer your question, I love to hear how it's impacted people in different ways.
You're a master at building relationships. I can see that just the short time we've known each other, just our texts and our emails, they're gregarious, they're warm. It's like Fred's a guy I want to get to know, and I'm sure your people are that way, but you also, that's a skill, okay, that you've built on over the years. How do you build that? Because a lot of people new in our industry, they don't necessarily, they want to sponsor their next door neighbor. They talk to the guy once, the guy says, that's not for me. Okay, bye. Versus going, well, you know what? What if on Thanksgiving I came over and gave you a free product to use and drip on them, right? They don't understand that process that you are a master at. Talk about how you build the most important relationships. How does Fred build those?
Again, a lot of it's just asking questions, getting to know them. See, what I do know is people like to talk about themselves or about their kids or about something in their life. And so it's asking questions. And then something my mom told me a long time ago. She said, Freddie, she'd say, God gave you 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. And she said, that means you listen and be present when people are speaking. And I learned that and I mastered that. Okay. Because people want to be heard. And then you ask a question. I try to get my kids to understand. Ask a question and then listen. Because they're going to tell you what to say next. And the bottom line is this, it's about them. And so again, it's about hearing what they have to say, and then they're going to tell you what to say next. And it's all building relations. I think some people struggle with it, but it's no different than anything else. It's like, for me, John, I struggle with technology, but really, if I want to get good at it, what do I have to do? I have to slow down, learn some things to speed up.
Mm-hmm.
I tell people, because I get a lot of my people, I sponsor a lot of people just because I meet them at the gym or, or at a networking group or, believe it or not, the gas pump, because I'm intentional. And I say, I'm not going to talk to them about my business. I'm not going to be like burning out down to talking about my business, my opportunity. I'm going to say, hi, how you doing today? And if they're pumping gas next to me, I go, hey, how's it going today? And they're going to be like, oh, good. And I'll say, what a beautiful day. And they'll say, yeah, it's great or whatever. And I might say, are you from Franklin, Tennessee? Are you from here? And most people aren't. We got a lot of people that come in from other places. And where are you from? And they'll say, well, I'm from, Dallas, Texas. I go, really? I said, how long you been here? And they say, what do you do? And I'll say, I love Dallas. I love Fort Worth, actually. But they'll say, what do you do for a living? And they may say, well, I work at the bank, blah, blah, blah. And I go, how long you been there? And, and they'll say, well, 10 years. I go, man, you must love your job. You've been there 10 years. Mm-hmm. Again, now it's just dialogue. But my whole goal is to build a relationship, friendship, because, that's all I try to do. And then, we keep moving forward. And a lot of times they will, they'll say something to me to spark something. But my goal is just to trade information, get their information, I get my information. And I realize I do. This is one thing I say to people, maybe a little off topic, but I always say, I'd say, John, man, you're built great, you're fit, and you got a great personality. It's so good talking to you. And I'll say, do you keep your options open to making more money? And so again, it's about building relationships. And then you got to keep feeding and feeling. You mentioned something about dripping. And this is what I say. Because a lot of people get discouraged if their neighbor says, no, not interested, or they go, oh, it's one of them pyramid schemes or whatever it might be, maybe whether it's a friend, a family member, but then it shuts them down. We can't be shut down by a no or negativity. Got to focus on what you want. But the bottom line, it's dripping on people, being consistent, right? Being intentional. And I always say, my analogy is if you put some flowers or plants on your back deck and it's summertime, you got to give it a little water every day or every other day anyway. Otherwise, if you don't, it shrivels up and dies. It's no different with the people they're whether they're your fence sitters, you're trying to get them started on your program, in the business, you got to drip on them a little bit. It may be every 2 or 3 days. Drip on them somehow. Maybe you're sending them, a video, or you're leaving a voice message, or, maybe in our case, it might be a before and after picture. And hey, John, I thought you could relate to this. Something like that. So that's all.
Right. Just communicate, right?
Yes. And it's like if you put time into getting better at building relationships, a little bit every day. Say hi to somebody. I said, just say hi and say, how you doing? And if you don't say nothing else, don't say nothing else, but get into the habit. It's just doing it a little bit each day to get better at what you're doing to achieve what you want.
Love it. Love it. What's your legacy, Fred? When it's all said and done, whenever down the road you look back on it, what do you want your legacy to be?
Well, that I made a difference in people's lives. I loved people. He was a great guy. He made a difference in my kid's life. And I mean, real legacy is to leave my children a lot of money. So they don't have to worry about nothing.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. So Fred, just in wrapping up, okay, we have listeners of all different levels, right? We've got guys and gals that are just beginning. I mean, I got a group of people I work with in Monterrey, Mexico, 17 to 21 years old, 14 of them that I've been coaching down there that are bilingual.
That's awesome.
And they're kids. I mean, my oldest is 19. I mean, they're in that age group, right? And then I got people on the other end of the spectrum that are, 75, 80. And in both cases, obviously the young people are new to network marketing because they're new to everything business-wise at that age. The older people, some of them are new to network marketing. And then we've got some of the people that they're old pros. They're guys like you and I, but they're stagnant. Like, I love the fact that you said after 12 years, you're still recruiting, because after 28 years with the same company, I'm still recruiting. And people say, well, why are you still recruiting? Haven't you made enough money? It's not why you keep recruiting, right? You keep recruiting because you want to continue to expose and change lives of people, right? So your words of wisdom on this have been tremendous. What would your final word be to all those people out there, wherever they're at, age-wise, wherever they're at, experience-wise? What's Fred's words of wisdom for them going forward? Action plan today. What can they do to make a difference in their business now?
Well, first and foremost, I don't think age really matters. It's equal playing field here. And it's not like you got to have a master's degree or whatever. So it's equal playing field. But again, that's in your mindset. Some people think a little different. But my steps I would give people is, number one, you got to know what you want. And I call that the why. You have to know what you want out of your business. Remember, I say this is not a job. This is a part-time business opportunity for most people that can create whatever that looks like in your life, right? For some, it's fortune. For others, whatever it's going to be. But you got to know what you want. You got to know what your why is. And then you got to really, and there's ways I get the why out of people, so you got to dig in and ask a few questions. But that's number one. If you know that and that's what your focus is, and so the negatives or the no's aren't going to affect you as much, right? Number two, I'm going to say this to everybody, and I said earlier, you got to work on you every day. Look, this is a world that is negative. And you turn on the TV, whatever, watch the news, read the paper, or all the other ways you can get negative. It's negative. So don't feed into that, but feed into fueling your brain every single day with positive information. Things are going to help you grow, get your attitude up to altitude. Okay. And it works, but it's a process. So every day, fuel your brain. And then the last thing I say is, you've got to believe in, and part of that working on yourself is believing in you, because you don't believe in yourself. And a lot of people just don't. Some people don't believe they deserve better. So this is why we work on ourselves. Right. But the last thing is, I say this, our business is pretty simple. And I say to my people, take the products, talk to people, and share the stories. But we get paid to talk to people and share stories. We get paid to talk to people. That's the bottom line. So you got to know every day what your goals are. And the number one goal is, besides working on you, is talk to new people. And then that could go into a lot. How do I do that? But that's not the question. So if you're working on yourself every day and you're talking to people every day and you know your why, you're going to build a business. And so don't deviate from those things.
Great. Well, Fred, this has been a privilege. I got to ask you still bodybuilding? And obviously you're still lifting. You're in great shape. You still training or hard or just?
No, I'm consistent. I do a lot of repetition. My in between sets is pretty short, 30 seconds. I really don't use free weights anymore. A lot of machines. And I pretty clean most of the time. So right now I'm 5'8", 210, 32-inch waist. So I'm in pretty good shape. I'll be 59 coming up, and just right now I just want to feel great. I just want to be healthy. That's my focus. It's not, working out and getting big or doing any of that anymore,
Great. Well, listen, continued great success. Hang 1 minute. We'll do a little cleanup here at the end, but I want to thank you. And folks, Fred made a lot of great points, but think about it. He's one of, if not the top earner in this company. He's still recruiting and building. Okay. So if you think you've arrived because you're satisfied where you are, don't be satisfied. Be like Fred. Keep building, keep going forward, because the effects it's going to have on your income are dramatic, but the effects you're going to have on other people are countless.
Can I say one last thing?
Sure.
So there's and I'm trying to think of Tim Grover. I don't know if you ever heard of Tim Grover.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so Tim Grover has a great story, by the way. Ed Milet interviewed him, and he has a great story coming from a different country, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And Tim Grover ended up becoming Michael Jordan's trainer, Kobe Bryant's trainer, Dwayne Wade's trainer, and whoever else came along. But Michael was his first person he ever trained. And Michael said he got in with the Bulls. He lived in Chicago, and Michael said, I'll give you 30 days. And if I like you, I'll keep you. And at that time, for Michael was my opinion, greatest basketball player ever. Okay. But Michael wasn't very built great. He was, kind of thin, and he was getting beat up by the Detroit Pistons, who they called the bad boys. And he couldn't beat those guys. So that was one of his motivations, to start training and get a trainer and build up, build his strength and get bigger. So same thing, Kobe and Michael had a very similar mindset, and he would come in the gym. They'd train, I think, like at 6 a.m., but Kobe and Michael would get in there at 4 a.m. and they would shoot baskets and do whatever, dribble and work on their skill. Thousands of baskets they would shoot. And he'd walk in, and one time, same thing with Kobe, they were putting their balls up by themselves. And these guys have made it, like they're making millions. And he said to Michael, why don't you have somebody do that for you? He goes, why would I change up what got me here to start with? You understand? Because he had to put his balls away back before he made it. He worked hard. He focused and stayed the course. But he says, why would I change and deviate what got me to this level already? See, so that's the whole bottom line. If you've grown here and you got success, you work smarter, you get better with your skills, but why change up? So that's why I keep moving and keep recruiting and sponsoring, because I want to make a difference, like you said.
Great story. I never heard that one, but well, I can't argue with the results those two gentlemen had in their careers. Certainly, no doubt about it. Both
for sure.
Beyond champions. All right, Fred, hang 1 second here. And thank you once again. This has been incredible. And folks, take notes. I keep telling everybody, fill up those journals. This stuff's priceless.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Leave Nothing to Chance. If you want to know more about what it takes to succeed in the network marketing space, join us again next week for another amazing episode. For additional resources and to connect with John Solleder, visit leavingnothingtochance.com. Don't forget to leave a review, and we'll see you next time.